Hello and welcome back to Curry Soup. Today we're going to be talking about diabetic ketoacidosis. We've already covered diabetes type 1, type 2. You can always go and check out our previous videos. And today we're going to see what would happen if diabetes went out of control. There are two possible scenarios which could happen if diabetes went out of control. One of it is diabetic ketoacidosis, which we will be covering today, and tomorrow we will be looking at HHNS. So stay tuned for that. In order to explain this in a way that would be very easy to understand, let's talk about my friend Motu. Alright, so Motu has diabetes. Not because he's Indian and he ate a lot of kesari, laddu, payasam and all those, but what Motu has is a type 1 diabetes. If you remember from our previous videos, type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition. That means his pancreas cannot produce insulin anymore. And insulin is the key needed to use glucose as a source of energy for the body. So because Motu has diabetes type 1, he has to inject himself with insulin 2 times a day. So this one particular day, Motu had to go for a wedding, his cousin Raju's wedding. Well, whenever you go to an Indian wedding, there's always two things you can expect. One is good food, mainly because the food is free. And number two is all your relatives questioning you about every life decision you made. So Motu was trying to avoid all the conversations and whacked the food nicely. He whacked banana leaf rice set twice, ate a lot of kesari payasam laddu, and he was happily talking to his relatives and his friends, and all of a sudden when he looked at his time, it was already 9 p.m. Mutu's injection was supposed to be at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So he was like, alamak, already 1 hour late already. So what he did, he quickly said bye to everyone and he rushed his way to the car and reached the car at 10 p.m. The thing you have to understand is Indians have stages of goodbyes. First 15 minutes is at the entrance, and then all 72 hours will walk towards the front gate, and then you'll say bye-bye again there. And then out of the blue, one uncle will come and call you aside and say, want to talk to you personally. That's another 15 minutes. And then you come back to all 72 hours and say goodbye once again. So it'll take around 1 hour for you to say goodbye and reach your car. So by now, Motu is already 2 hours late for his insulin injection. And when he was so near to his car already, his hand already reaching the handle, then it hit him. All of a sudden, he felt very nauseated, started having cold sweats, wanted to vomit. So he turned back, he ran into the wedding hall, went to the toilet and started vomiting there. And he also peed a lot. He was urinating a lot. When he came out of the toilet, he was super thirsty and super dry. And people noticed that he was breathing very weirdly. So what they did, they immediately sent him to the hospital. So what happened to Motu? Motu has type 1 diabetes. So that means the body does not produce insulin. So when the body does not have insulin, all the food that he just ate, all the kesari, payasam, laddu, rice and whatever not he whacked earlier, all of this is converted into glucose in the blood. Now there's so much glucose in the blood, but then there's no way to enter the cells or to be used as energy. As I mentioned earlier, insulin is the key. Only if your body has insulin, it can open the cell up, put the glucose in so that the glucose can be used as energy. Now there's none of that. So the glucose level becomes very, very high. And when the concentration of glucose in the blood is super high, it's going to start pulling all the water towards it. Glucose loves water. So now all the cells in Mutu's body has started becoming dry because they're all pouring out their fluid into the blood vessel to the glucose. And when Mutu went to the toilet to urine, he urined out a lot because all the water in the body is starting to come out. And because there's so much glucose in the blood, the kidney starts peeing out glucose as well. So these are the symptoms of diabetic ketoacidosis. First is hyperglycemia. That means your blood has too much glucose. Next is polyuria, meaning the amount of urine that you pee out is a lot, like not normal, like super a lot. Polydipsia, because you urine a lot, now your body is super dehydrated, so you're very, very thirsty. Polydipsia is very, very thirsty. The next is the nausea and vomiting. So why does this happen? As I mentioned earlier, his body does not have any insulin at all. So another function of the insulin is it prevents the production of ketone bodies. This might not make much sense to you, but just follow me along with it. So when the body has no energy, the body can't use glucose as a source of energy. The body will try to find a secondary source of energy, something else, anything which can be used to maintain the normal process of the body. So when this happens, the body will tap into fats. As we all know, fat is a sort of energy storage for our body. So when cells start breaking down these fats becomes free fatty acids. And these free fatty acids will travel all the way to the liver where something called ketogenesis happens. And ketogenesis is the process which produces energy, the supplementary energy, the secondary energy for the body. And the byproduct of ketogenesis is ketone bodies. When the body is severely starved, there's no energy going into the body, there's no fluid going into the body will start to break down a lot of fat to produce energy. When a lot of fat is broken down to produce energy, the result is a lot of ketone bodies. When there's a lot of ketone bodies in the blood, it develops a condition called hyperketonemia, which means too much ketone bodies in the blood. And when there's too much ketone bodies in the blood, it promotes the development of ketonuria. That means instead of just urinating out glucose, now you're urinating out ketone as well. The thing about ketone body is it's acidic. It'll drastically drop the pH level of your blood and urine, meaning making it more acidic. And that's why the central nervous system is directly affected. Imagine acid running through your body, how would it feel? So that's why they start having cold sweats, nausea, vomiting, and that's the reason they have the deep breathing. It's called a Kussmaul's breathing. You can always Google it or go YouTube and check it out. It's a very typical breathing pattern for those who have diabetic ketoacidosis. Before we wrap this whole thing up with the main points, if you found this video to be valuable, if you learn anything at all from this video, the only thing I ask is to share this with your friends or family members, spread the knowledge. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, go ahead and smash the subscribe button right there, and please do click the bell icon because YouTube's algorithm is changing all the time and we want to make sure our videos come and reach you. And until the next informative video, in anything you do your best and be the best version of yourself. So to wrap it up, diabetic ketoacidosis is a medical emergency. It happens mainly in type 1 diabetes but also can happen in type 2 diabetes. The reason for diabetic ketoacidosis is the lack of insulin in the body, so the body wants to find another method to produce energy. And most importantly, if you see any of those symptoms I mentioned earlier, polydipsia, having extreme thirst, feeling tired, feeling nauseated, feeling like you want to vomit, and you are a diabetic, you know that you're a type 1 diabetic, get to the hospital as soon as you can. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until the next one, bye-bye.